Hey, what is up? My name is Jim Elli, and in today's video, I will be showing you how to use the free ZAO Strength Powerlifting program. This program was developed by myself and my assistant coach, William, and we try to make this program as easy to use as possible while making sure that it has the tools necessary to help you make effective and efficient training decisions to ensure your long-term progress. It is our goal at ZAO Strength to help you become strong for life. So without further ado, let's dig right into the program. I'll teach you how to use it and what you can do to maximize your results with this free ZAO Strength bottom-up powerlifting program. So the first question that most people have is, what does bottom up mean? Effectively, it means that you're going to design training based on how you're actually responding to training instead of how you expect to respond to training. As you begin your powerlifting journey, you may not understand all the variables which you respond the best to. So in this program, our goal is to teach you a little bit about how you can manipulate the variables in your training program to get the best results based off of your material conditions and what you're actually experiencing in the gym and outside of the gym. So the first thing that you need to determine is what training schedule works best for you. As you can see here, we have a preferred order of training that looks like day one. You would start day one, and then you'd have a rest day, and then day two, then you'd have a rest day, and then day 3 and 4 back to back. The reason for that is that the competition movements begin at the beginning of the week, and at the end of the week, we have our secondary and tertiary movements. However, if this does not work for you, it is completely fine to manipulate the training days so that it works for your training schedule. And if 4 days doesn't work for you, I recommend emailing us so we can help provide opportunities for you to change the program. However, we may come out with other versions of this program if requested. So once you've decided on your training split, you'll choose the day that you want to start your training on. All you'll do is click on this cell and decide when you want to start your training. So let's assume that you want to start your training next week as of the time of recording, September 12th. So that would be day 1. And if we follow the schedule, then day 2 would be on the Wednesday on the 14th. Day 3 would be on the 16th, and day 4 would be on the 17th. So as you can see, it'd be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Then you want to pick the exercises that are most effective for you. The first exercise you need to choose is your secondary squat exercise. This is a squatting movement that is designed to improve your biomechanical efficiency and teach you more about the movement pattern of the squat. So for most lifters, starting out with a 3-count pause squat should help them to improve their eccentric control and their comfort in the bottom of the squat. But if you have access to a safety bar squat, or you prefer to do a high bar squat to shift the focus on your quads, or you can choose the 3-0-0 acceleration squat, where you control the first half of the lift with a 3-count eccentric, and on the second half of the lift, you accelerate into the hole and bounce out of the hole with as much force as possible. This is designed to teach you how to efficiently squat out of the hole, utilize your stretch reflex, and maximize your balance throughout the full range of motion of the squat. Next, we have a movement that is designed to improve your muscle mass. So this is usually an exercise that has less spinal loading, so you can focus purely on loading the muscle tissue of the legs instead of the entire body. Something like the leg press, the Bulgarian split squat, the front foot elevated split squat, or the belt squat. Next, you have a movement designed to improve your technical efficiency of the competition bench press. Whether you choose the Larson press, the 3-count pause bench press, the chest level pin press, the 3-1-0 tempo bench press, or the Spoto press, that is up to you. I like going with a 3-count pause or a chest level for my own weaknesses, but you want to find something that will help you develop something that you need to work on in your competition movement. The second bench exercise is a movement designed to improve your muscle mass again. So a close grip bench press, wide grip dumbbell bench press, close grip bench, dumbbell low incline bench, or a barbell low incline incline bench are all effective exercises to target the musculature used in the competition bench press, but at a slightly different angle, range of motion, or tempo to help increase the muscle size of the muscles that we are using during the competition bench press. Then we have an overhead shoulder focused exercise, which similarly focuses on the muscle groups that are less used in the competition bench, but are definitely important as we develop your general strength and might play a role depending on your individual biomechanics to maximize your bench press strength. And we have the dumbbell overhead press, the military press, the high incline dumbbell press, and the high incline barbell press. Lastly, for the first block of the program, we only have one deadlift variation. This movement is designed to focus on your muscle mass in your posterior chain. We find that increasing muscle mass in your posterior chain is an effective strategy for earlier blocks or for your first block of your training. As you develop your technique with your competition style deadlift, we want to make sure we also strengthen the posterior chain with something like a Romanian deadlift, a stiff-legged deadlift, snatch grip stiff-legged deadlift, or a snatch grip Romanian deadlift. If you are a sumo deadlifter, these exercises will still be effective because the sumo deadlift biases the adductors, the glutes, and a little bit of the erectors, neglects some of the hamstrings, and it does not target the erectors in the same way. So we think adding a hip hinging focused movement would be effective to maximize musculature throughout the full range of motion of your competition deadlift. Next, we want to choose the unit of measurement that you'll be using for your program. So if you have kilograms or you use kilograms in your gym, choose kilograms. If you use pounds, choose pounds. Next, we have the lowest rounding increment. So we have a calculator in our program that will help you determine the proper weights to use in the program. And this will help us to calculate more effectively the loading scheme for each week. The next part of the program is to determine your squat, bench, and deadlift stress. Now, this is important because it will dictate how much volume that you'll have in your program. We recommend erring on the side of conservation. So if you aren't sure, then it's okay to start out with a lower stress for the squat, bench, and deadlift. And if you need more volume later on, you can always increase it during the second development block or during the other iterations of the program that you end up running. The goal is to learn about what you respond well to, and we don't want to make too many assumptions, and it's much easier to add volume than it is to take away volume from your program. Next, you'll want to input your estimated 1 rep max. This is for reference only. If you remember your last max, just enter it here. So that way we can look back at it at the end of the program and see what we've improved on. Though this should be a recent max, not something you hit 3 years ago. That way we have a relevant reference point. The next portion of the program is an optional pivot block. This pivot block, I don't want you to edit very much. These exercises and rep ranges are specifically designed for pivoting, meaning that it's going to resensitize you to the competition exercises and the stimuli of the other variations in the development block. A few things to note. We use RPE in this program. You need to learn how to use RPE if you don't already. In this protocol, for example, we have ramping sets. So you're going to set a 4 at RPE 6, then add load. Make sure you rest sufficiently. Add load, do an RPE 7 set of 4, add load, and do an RPE set of 8. If you need to rest more to ensure that heavier load is RPE 8, that's totally fine. And you can see that your estimated 1 rep max is calculated as you put in the numbers here. Then you have the 5-3-0 tempo bench press, which is a 5 count eccentric, 3 count pause on the chest, and then explode off of the chest. Similarly, we have a ramp up set, but then we also have a 5% back off set. So you'll hit this set of 3 at an 8, and let's say we do 100 kilos. It'll automatically reduce the load for you, and you'll just put 95 kilos or 95 pounds, depending on which you chose, for your back off set. And make sure you're resting in between sets here as well. Next, you'll want to do your alternate stance deadlift. So if your primary deadlift stance is sumo, then you'll want to perform conventional. If your primary stance is conventional, you want to perform this sumo. You're going to do some ramping sets. We got 8s here. So your first set, 8 are at 6, 7, and 8. Then we have the close grip incline bench press, which you can change for another exercise that targets the front delts and or the triceps. Again, you have a ramping set, only this time you have a repeat set after you hit your top set. So if you hit 100 kilos at the top set, you'll do 100 again. And that RP is going to be a little bit harder this time. This is a low drop protocol, and this is a repeat protocol. So you repeat the weight here and you low drop the weight here. You drop the load. On day 3 of the pivot, we have Bulgarian split squats, which you can swap out for lunges, dumbbell split squats, or single-legged leg press if you have that available to you. Then we have the dumbbell bench press, feet up bench, incline bench, and dumbbell incline. As long as if you see an arrow here, it means you can modify the exercise, by the way. Pick something that will be exciting for you. That's the most important thing. Or pick something that you think is necessary for you. You can see that there are orange boxes here. For example, with a row of choice, we have 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps at RPE 8. That means we want you to perform 3 sets of 12 to 15 reps and maintaining RPE 8 for each set. So if you pick a load and it's too easy and you do 12 reps and it's not RPE 8 yet, then increase the load so that you get to RPE 8 within that 12 to 15 rep range. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have questions, message me on Instagram at jim.zaostrength or our Instagram at zaostrength. Next, we have something like chin-ups. For the chin-ups, since they're body weight, you basically just want to have 3 sets of 8. But if you're going to do something like a lat pull down, you want to make sure that you kind of stay in this 6 to 8 rep range as well. So this is another way of inputting it. But basically, you just want to stay within RPE 8 for 6 to 8 reps. If you're doing a body weight exercise, then just do 3 sets at RPE 8. Whatever rep range that ends up being for you is totally okay. Then we have the last session of the week, which is your stiff-legged variations or your Romanian deadlift, both conventional stance, even if you are a sumo deadlifter. Just 2 sets here. Then we got a barbell row, a dumbbell, or a cable row. Again, we want you to do 4 sets of 8, starting out with 1 top set at 8. So this is actually a repeat set as well, but you're going to start with your first set. Once you work up to a set of 8 at RPE 8, you'll repeat that for 3 more sets of the same load, and you should see that the RPE increases. If your RPE surpasses at 9, then you will want to reduce the load by 5% so you can continue the set. And then last, we have some curls, dumbbell, barbell, cable. You can pick which one works for you. Now, as you can see, the exercises that we chose in the starting guide are going to directly be reflected here on day 3 and 4. We have the 3 count pause squat, the chest level pin press. Then we have a bunch of fun exercises that you can choose between to make sure you're getting some bodybuilding work. We don't want you to be powerlifting specialists. We still want to make sure you're getting your arm work in and your back work. We also have the Romanian deadlift, the leg press, military press. All of these you've chosen already. A few protocols that you want to be aware of. The first protocol is a double out of 7 on the squat. So you're going to work up to a double out of 7. Let's say you hit here, let's say 200 kilos. You do that at RPE 7. That's the goal. Good job. Your estimated 1 rep max is 231.7 kilograms, and your back offsets will be at 75% of your estimated 1 rep max. The calculator is already set up for you. So you'll just do 2 sets of 5 at 175 pounds or kilograms. In this case, kilograms. Same thing for the bench press. You do 100 kilos. At a 7, estimated 1 rep max is 119 kilograms. Then you'll drop to 77.5% of your estimated max for 2 sets of 5. This is like your intro week, so don't get too worried if the volume is too low. You want to track your response to your training, not what you expect to respond to. So if you're responding well, then that's all we care about, because that means things are moving in the right direction. Kill your ego, learn to fall in love with progress and not expectations of progress. It's a lot more fun. All right, so that's kind of the basics of the first week of the block. Again, if you see an orange cell, it means you need to modify the box. So if you're doing skull crushers, you want to do 2 sets of 8 to 12 reps at RPE 7. Keep the RPE the same for each set. Same thing for the side, lateral, and the curls, or whichever exercise you end up choosing. So then you'll perform the same kind of protocol for the competition deadlift. We have the low incline barbell bench. That's the one we chose. Again, for the barbell incline bench, as you can see, you'll have repeat sets. So you're going to work up to a 6 out of 7, and then you're going to repeat for 3 more sets. Again, if RPE surpasses RPE 9 on any of these sets, then you're going to want to make sure you reduce the load. I don't want you hitting RPE 10 on these exercises unless it says here. This is the guide. So this is kind of what you want to keep the RPE at. Adjust the load as necessary. Hopefully you guys understand all the protocols we've shown here. There's nothing too crazy. So once you've input all of your training for the first block, we can actually go to the progress chart, and let's just look at the bench press because I entered some random numbers here. You can see that the training went well for your bench press. So the volume probably was effective for the bench press because we saw it increase. You can ask yourself if you had more recovery. Could you have trained harder? Would that have provided a better stimulus? All right, so let's say you want to increase the bench stress. You're going to go to medium. Okay, so now if you look at the bench, you start out the development block 2 with 4 sets of 4 instead of maybe 3 sets of 4. This is going to increase the overall volume of your block, and we might see a better response. But once you finish the second development block, you'll look back at the progress chart and you'll see, was that a good idea? Was it an effective strategy? Did the progress improve or not? But before we get to all that, we're going to do the next pivot block. So after you finish block 1, it's only 4 weeks, which is relatively quick. However, if you need to, you can extend the block. You can just keep running week 4, or you can do some Excel trickery and add some weeks to this. But the average development block for most people is around 4 weeks, which is why we set this up. If you want individualized training, you're going to need to either build your own program or work with a coach. So hopefully this is a good average for you. If you're noticing that you're getting too fatigued on week 4 and week 4 isn't your best, you can end your blocks at week 3. That's totally cool as well. But let's assume everything's going well and this makes sense for you and your response is going well to your training. You're going to start pivot block 1. Again, don't modify the exercises unless you have to. I mean, if you want to, that's fine, but we don't provide options here because we believe that these exercises should allow for a really solid pivot block stimulus. A pivot block is designed to help reduce your fatigue, increase your sensitivity to training, train unique energy systems, different movement patterns, different tempos, and different ranges of motion for similar exercises that you're performing during your competition block. Nothing new to see here. All the protocols you've seen before. Block 2, we have, again, you need to set up your training date. The main difference between development block 1 and development block 2 is we have more exercises dedicated to prioritizing movement efficiency and less exercises dedicated to muscle mass development. We want to double down on movement efficiency. We assume you've built some muscle mass, you're kind of bored of the higher rep training. So we have 2 bench press exercises dedicated to movement efficiency or weak range of motion or training a certain part of the lift that you're maybe less comfortable with. The squat, we still have 1 because I don't want to increase the stress too much, but like you can see here, we have a bunch of variations you can choose for the bench. Again, on the second slot, you have a few more exercises that you can choose. We still have 1 exercise dedicated to muscle mass development, and it's typically correlated to higher rep ranges. No exercise is unique in how it targets your muscles, but the differences matter, and how the muscle is trained can help improve your muscle mass. Additionally, your deadlift has a secondary deadlift exercise. This movement is designed to improve your weakness or your specific parts in your competition deadlift that you might not be as comfortable in. So you can choose between the 2 count pause deadlift, 2-inch deficit deadlift, or the 6-0 tempo. Again, choose your squat stress, your unit of measurement, and the rounding. Choose between high, medium, and low stress on the squat, bench, and deadlift. Use the progress charts to help gauge what you might need to modify, as well as your overall perception of how difficult the first block was or how easy it was. You're going to enter your most recent estimated 1 rep max on the squat, bench, and deadlift as well. Again, to kind of track to see which block you responded best to. If you begin this block with a high estimated max and you start the next block when it's lower, you probably want to perform things more similar to block 1 than block 2. So the other main difference between block 1 and block 2 is that we actually peak you into either a mock meet, or if you're competing, you can compete with this program because we have a taper week. Now, how the taper week works is your first session is going to be your competition squat, bench, and deadlift. We're not doing singles here because you should be able to develop the skills necessary for a single with triples. They're still hard. It's not an easy set. And the novelty to a single can be pretty aggressive. And we think that if you perform the single on competition, yes, it might be a new experience for you, but we still think you'll be plenty prepared. And a lot of times it throws people off to change the rep ranges too soon in a block when they're really riding the wave of higher rep training, and higher rep is triples in this case. So you're going to take the estimated max from the most recent training. You have an estimated load for you. You're going to aim for a triple at 8.5, and maybe you're feeling stronger than you would because we do assume that you can make adaptations within a week. You might feel stronger, so maybe you hit 180, or maybe you feel weaker and you hit 150. Either way, your estimated max is going to change, and that's going to also impact what you hit on this back off work. So if you did 150, 150, then obviously that's 80% of your estimated max is 135, and so on and so forth. You'll do the same thing for the squat, bench, and deadlift. And these back off sets are also dictated by the stress level that you input earlier in the training. The second session is just a warm-up session, just to kind of practice some singles, just to get you mentally prepared. You're going to rest on Friday, and then meet day or mock meet day would be on the Saturday. This is effectively a meet card, so you can manipulate any of these, but you're going to have an estimated load for your openers based off how everything moved on day one. So in this case, your estimated max for your single on your squat is 170, and your estimated load for your single at 7 is going to be 153 pounds or kilograms. Similar for your bench press, if you estimated max is 139, then your opener should be around 125. However, you can always reduce the opener if you're feeling nervous about it. But since you're doing triples here, you did 5 kilos less than that on Monday at RPE 8. So doing it for a single at a 7.5 should be pretty easy. And it's the same thing on deadlift. The last thing you need to know is that once you end up actually performing the lift, let's say you do hit 153 or 152.5 and you do it RPE 8, then it'll estimate the next jump for you. So you don't have to guess. So if this is too heavy, it'll have a lower load adjustment for you. You hit this and it's a 10, obviously you're just going to scratch your third, right? But if it's a 9.5, you're going to try to go for 160, right? If it's a meet, then you're going to need to modify the estimated load or choose the lowest increment you're allowed for based on the federation you're in. For most people, that's going to be 2.5 kilograms. So round to the nearest 2.5 kilograms. Other than that, the main goal is that you're modifying the program and you perform it many times. So once you finish your first block, analyze your training. How did it go? What was your total progression? Which exercises do you think contributed the most to your growth? What did you learn from each block? What should you modify for the next run of this program to maximize the progress of your next block? Do you need more volume? Do you need more specific exercises? Do you need to modify the exercises? Should you run the exact same thing? This is what it means to have a bottom-up training approach. You're building your understanding of your training from the bottom up, from a basic approach with minimal effective training, and then adding on top of that based off of your training response. And if you need more help and you're excited about this and you think the way that we're teaching you is effective and you need more of mentorship or more hand-holding or just someone to bounce ideas off of, we offer mentorship, we offer coaching, one-on-one online powerlifting coaching, and we have a hybrid coaching option, as well as a group guided coaching option, where you can get access to over 25 programs, manipulate them however you want, modify them, learn more about your training. These programs provide a lot of creative fuel. So if you see something you like in the program and you want to manipulate it slightly, that's great, because we're here to teach you how to make better training decisions, how to become a stronger athlete, how to build strength for life. So if you have any questions about that, make sure to message me on Instagram at jim.zaostrength. Follow ZAO Strength for more content. Again, this program was created primarily by me and Willie Me, but we also had the help of Coach Siba Emin, Tyson Eckel, Say Fidel, and Brandon Wright to make sure that everyone is happy with the program, and we're all really happy with it. So without further ado, let us know how you enjoy the program, and we will talk to you next time.